Sometimes the most interesting part about a museum is the part that the public doesn't get to see. So come on in, I want to show you some of the storage areas for things that are in the Historical Society's collection. Come on in. Virtually the entire collection of the museum has been donated to the Historical Society by people in the Elgin community. They give it to us as stewards of this wonderful treasure trove of Elgin's past. This is our three-dimensional objects room. Come on down here and I'll show you an example of what I mean. These are some of the artifacts left over from Elgin's history in the dairy industry. Here we have hundreds and hundreds of bottles from the dozens and dozens of dairy companies that once were part of our economic and social fabric here. All the way down to these cute little cream bottles. Remember these from long ago when the milkman would deliver milk to an insulated metal box that would be on people's doorsteps? And then of course our long history with the Borden's Company. Three-dimensional objects can be things as ephemeral as just advertising items from local companies. Such as these. Or artifacts from industries that were once here. Did you know Elgin once was the home of a silo manufacturer? And of course tools that were used in the trades. Coffee mills from the Elgin foundry. The objects we're most interested in are those that are directly related to Elgin and Elgin's story. But we also have a fine collection of objects related to everyday life in the past. Here's some interesting ones. How about this? An early vacuum cleaner. I think what worked by some sort of pumping action. That's for the lady of the house. We also have objects that are related to Elgin's recreational life. Croquet balls, ice skates. People did ice skate on Lord's Park, and Lord's Park was the site of a very well-known ice skating tournament that was held every year here. Now, down this aisle, we have other aspects of everyday life, such as these doctor's bags. Do you remember when doctors made house calls? Do you remember when the pharmacy came to your house? Take a look at some of these objects. The medicine bag, complete with the traveling collection of drugs. Of course, Elgin was a rural supply center and a farming community surrounded it. And how about one of these? Used for carrying water. It would be suspended, the buckets would be suspended from these holes. And then you'd carry this on your shoulders like that. How about this? There's a shovel for you. Anyway, these things could end up being thrown away, lost, or left out in the farm, out in the field to rot away. But they really tell a story to children that have never seen a wooden shovel. So that's why it's important to have them where they could be properly cared, interpreted, put on display for people. Long before there were radio, people needed to entertain themselves at home. We have a little collection of musical instruments from the 19th century. One of our most valued musical instrument is this drum. The Elgin National Watch Factory Military Band, a really prized artifact for our collection. The band toured the country promoting Elgin watches at a time when band concerts were a big form of entertainment for the average citizen. The museum's collection includes a large selection of textiles. Textiles are objects such as uniforms such as these, military uniforms, flags, ribbons, pendants, dresses, all manner of things that are done on textiles. These boxes contain hundreds and hundreds of items of fancy clothing, of everyday clothing, of ribbons, of uniforms, of pennants, of dresses worn at important events. They reflect the style of both ordinary and high style of earlier eras in Elgin. Textiles include items such as pennants, ribbons, medals, accessories. One of the great treasures of the museum is this fantastic collection of images and photographs from times gone by. We have a number of objects like these, which have already been framed and are on display. Here's downtown Elgin, looking down Chicago Street to the east and Grove Avenue to the south. Probably about 1904 or so. Here's an interesting example of a framed document. This is the sons of Union veterans of the Civil War from their encampment in 1921. These are the sons of the veterans. This room contains both circuit court documents and negatives from the Courier News. Starting in about 1963 and going up to about 1986, we have almost every negative of every image that was photographed by Courier News staff and used in the papers. Over 100,000 negatives here. And they would be all sorted into individual files, all numbered and indexed, and it would be possible to go in here and then retrieve a picture from some point in the past and make a very good quality reproduction. So if you want to see what you look like perhaps when you did that Cub Scout trip to the Courier News printing plant, hey, chances are we've got the negative on that. So how about the bowling team? Or how about the JC's auction back in 1980? Or let's see what else we might have here. How about the swim meet in early 1980? All these are part of our great collection, and they're available to have reproductions made. And here's a negative from a pottery demonstration dated December 9th, 1975, the issue of the Courier. And typically the photographer would go out and shoot 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 pictures of it, and of course the Courier would select the best of those. So not only do we have the images that were in the paper, but we usually have images that were not used in the paper, left on the cutting room floor, so to speak. One of our great treasure troves of documents are these probate records from the Circuit Court's office. These are for Elgin Township probate records prior to about 1970s or so. And these are wonderful for doing family genealogy and for house research, because it gives you a good idea of the people that live there, some of the family connections, sometimes information about the homes if they went into probate, and little artifacts about day-to-day life of Elgin in the whatever year it is. So one of the great assets that we have is the collection from photographers that once worked in Elgin. Elmer Gillick, a photographer and architect. John Adams, capturing scenes of everyday life, in this case speed skating on the Lord's Park lagoons, or the press rooms of the Courier News. We have tens of thousands of images of Elgin and Elgin citizens. All these photos have been archived and indexed and are available for reproduction, covering a whole wide range of subjects and topics in the city. These photos are a wonderful asset if you're doing home restoration. Gives you a good idea of what was once originally there, and a lot of detail on these images. In this room we have business records from Elgin Industries gone by. Hundreds and hundreds of documents related to early industries. We have one of our prizes is some of the original minutes from the Elgin National Watch Company. We have a great collection of early atlases and maps of the city, wonderful research tools to be used. Here is a 1892 map of Elgin's southwest side. Here's South Street, Orange Street, Oak Street. You notice it didn't always run all the way through. And if you look very closely at this map, you'll see the outlines of the buildings that were in existence at the time when the cartographer came by and mapped this area out. You see a lot of interesting little things that no longer exist. There's this little pond here, which is about where St. Ed's football field is today. And this big tract of open land that was between Billings and Mosley Street, several blocks in here. Our collection of city directories is a wealth of information. These were more than just phone directories. A typical page would tell you who lived there, including other members of the family, the occupation of the owner, what their phone number and address were, of course, and sometimes the place of employment. These are great when you're doing histories on homes, and they're much, much easier to use than working off of microfilm copies that might be available at the library. So our research staff can help you if you are interested in looking at city directories. We go all the way back to the 1860s. I'm with Museum Director Elizabeth Marston, one of our great assets to the museum. And we're going to talk a little bit about this wonderful drum as the first of several artifacts. So tell me, where did this come from?
This is a 36th Regiment Civil War drum, and it was donated by the Castle family back probably in the 1970s. One of their family members was Charles Stiles, and he was a drummer boy, and he went to the Civil War when he was 16, and he carried this drum. So you can see we've had it on exhibit for a long time, but it is in need of conservation, and so we have it ready to go to a conservator who will help preserve all of the original paint that is still left on the drum.
Okay, earlier when we were in the three-dimensional objects room, we were walking down the aisles, and I was saying that our collection includes things as diverse as just advertising memorabilia, and such as this ashtray and these matches, and stuff from the watch company. All this is from the watch company in one aspect or another. Here's a case that Lord Elgin watches were sold in, with the watch in it, by the way. Perfect for your husband for Christmas present. So, yeah. But these are interesting. What's the story with these badges and pictures?
Well, these were, they're plant IDs that were produced primarily during World War II.
For plant security?
Yes, for the Elgin Watch Company. And, they had they added on a lot of more people to work at the factory, and they even started Plant 2, which was down on Bluff City Boulevard.
And the building is still there, in fact.
And the building is still there. So they had so many new people that they started to do this security.
Wouldn't want
thing.
Any saboteurs putting the watch company out of business.
Exactly, and they were doing all war work.
And actually, they were doing work that had strategic importance because, the timing devices that were used in ships and some of the artillery and anti-aircraft shells. So.
Right.
And what's this little object? It looks like a rubber stamp of some sort.
Right, a rubber stamp.
From?
It says Niels Elgin.
Yeah, Niels of Elgin. Niels was a store in downtown Elgin.
A paint store, decorating store, right.
Very good. And then my eye is drawn to these. Are these the keys to the kingdom down at the watch factory, or just what here?
These are the center gate keys, yeah.
The center gate keys.
Right. These were to open the big gates at the front. And it even says, can you see that? Center Gate ENWC Company.
A lot of people collect spoons, and I think we have a couple of pieces of silverware here. This one's obviously a collectible object. And what's that on there?
Can you see that? That's the Elgin National Watch Factory. It's a souvenir spoon.
And then what's this from the company cafeteria? It's just a regular fork with an Elgin trade name on it?
Yeah, it's from, you can see the Elgin trade name and the stars by it, timed by the stars, and this was in the dining room. There was an executive dining room and a regular worker dining room.
And this you could buy, and this you took out in your lunchbox, I imagine.
That's right.
Earlier when we were in the textile room, we were talking about some of the objects that are in there, including uniforms, and here's a great example from one of our local veterans. What can you tell me about this?
This is the World War I uniform of Lyle Ziegler, who was the owner of Ace Hardware in Elgin. And you see we've packed all of this up in an acid-free box with acid-free tissue. And we have his jacket with his pins still there, U.S., and his rank. And then we also have all of the accoutrement that go with it, including...
Here, let's take this out. His leggings.
The leggings and the heavy, heavy wool socks, all military issue.
Size 12, I presume.
And then a dress jacket. And we keep this, we have had this on exhibit before when we talk about World War I. And it's, it really, I think the power of the object helps people become, make this more meaningful and make abstract history of World War I that happened 100 years ago more immediate, especially if you see a picture of Lyle in his uniform and then understand that he worked at the hardware store the rest of his life and made a difference for people in Elgin.
I love these boots. Show that there was some marching done in these, I bet. So, and do you know where Lyle served?
He served in England and France.
Okay.
And came back. We have his Bible that he carried with him through the war and made it home again.
So a good sample of first-person history, World War I is, like you say, over almost a century ago it began. And it really shaped the world for the first half of the 20th century at any rate. Here's a piece of history that a lot of Elgin women can relate to.
Barb Harwood just donated this, and we don't have any of this particular year. We do have some other gym suits. They don't make the kids wear these so much anymore.
Very stylish. So I remember these, and what was it like to go to gym dressed like that? Was it embarrassing, or was it?
Well, everybody's wearing the same
comfortable?
thing. It doesn't matter. And they would have different colors for different years. This was purchased at Keeney's Sporting Goods, downtown Elgin. And Barb saw our exhibit on Keeney's, and so she wanted to donate this because she thought that had relevance to Elgin history.
And it sure does. I bet you a lot of people have wonderful memories when they see that.
That's right.
So when an object like that, or like Mr. Ziegler's uniform comes in that's a textile, what do we have to do to make sure that it's not ruined by either soil or insects or things of that sort?
Well, when somebody donates an item to the museum, the collections committee meets once a month to review all of the donations, and we get actually hundreds of items that are donated every year. So the collections committee has to be very careful about what to take, and everything that we take tells a story about Elgin. So this item is something that we didn't have in the collection. It was purchased at a local store and worn by a local student. So it was perfect for the museum's collections to tell a story. And then when we get it, we have a whole volunteer crew that starts by giving it an accession number with the donor and the year that it was donated. And then they describe it and give us the measurements, the color, any condition problems that it might have. And then it's numbered, it's physically numbered, as you can see here. And then from there it either goes into storage to wait for an exhibit opportunity, or it goes right to exhibit. And this one's going right down to exhibit.
Well, thanks for taking a few minutes out of your work day to tell us a little bit about this. And if people have items they want to donate to the museum, how do they get a hold of us?
They can either call us at 847-742-4248 or go to our website. You can Google Elgin History Museum and you'll find us there.
Thank you very much. It's really been fun.
Thanks, Bill.